So, um, do you want to talk about anything other than the Philadelphia 76ers?
No, I'm making you do this at gunpoint. You can't hide. There's no Eagles clips to hide behind here, my friend. Just pure, unadulterated Joel Embiid injury news, 40-point losses to the Bulls. Like, this is...
I just put it together.
Yep.
I'm tapped into the third heaven right now. I've been taken up. I've seen the vision. What just happened in the Super Bowl? I know you said I can't talk about the Eagles, but what just happened in the Super Bowl? Who swung the game? Was it a quirked up white boy named Cooper?
Okay. All right. I see where this is going. He was a rookie. I mean, so would you say
United in Philadelphia, two quirked up white boys named Cooper?
Okay. Let me take it a step further. Second year coach disappoints in year 2. Everyone's really frustrated. Disappointing end of the year. People are wondering if the star player is ever going to be the same. Some good young talent came in the door, but they got injured.
Who are you comparing him to, though?
The Eagles.
Well, the Eagles in year 2, Nick Sirianni made it to the Super Bowl. His first year was
no. I'm sorry.
The parallel wouldn't
work. I thought it was Sirianni's first year. Never mind.
The Eagles and Sixers will never have a parallel. Let's be real here.
They have a lot of parallels. Yeah. They have a lot of play very close to each other.
Yeah,
they're pretty much the same team.
Competent owners, competent front offices, coaches who everyone in the locker room loves. Clearly, all the players love Nick Nurse right now, which is why they lost they were almost down 50 at one point last night to the Chicago Bulls without Nikola Vucevic. So they were getting cooked it was amazing watching that game last night because I went into the game. Obviously, we get the Joel Embiid news earlier this week. But my whole thing has basically been, I don't think shutting down Embiid for the rest of the season would hurt the team so much because they showed stretches when Embiid was out of the lineup where they looked like passable at least. And since he came back, it was obvious that he wasn't right. He couldn't move on defense. He was struggling to do anything in the post. And I honestly thought that he hurt the team during his little stretch back recently. Like they won one game. They went 1-6 during this stretch, I think, since he came back. He left the Nets game the other night, and then after that, they went on this like fake comeback, but they actually tied the game late in the game after Joel was pushed to the bench. And my whole theory on it was the fact that they've had guys in and out of the lineup, the fact that Joel clearly is at like 40% right now, maybe like 30%, that him being out of the lineup, they would run more, they would have better ball movement. They would be able to figure out a way to kind of steal some wins. And then they instantly lost to Josh Giddey and Kevin Huerter, who, for my money, Kevin Huerter's been one of the 10 worst players in the NBA this season. He has been, he got traded, obviously. He was terrible on the Sacramento Kings. We've joked about every time that a player plays like shit, they just need to see a Sixers jersey and it turns their season around. It's possible we might have resurrected Kevin Huerter's career last night. He saw some shots go in, and I believe he finished the game shooting he had like an 80-something true shooting in that game. Josh Giddey looked like prime Magic Johnson. And the Sixers showed no fight, despite the fact that they just lost their, ailing best player potentially for the rest of the season. It was an opportunity for some guys to kind of show out, new guys that have got to the team like Lonnie Walker and Quentin Grimes. And, the lineups with Yabu at the 5 were working well. And ultimately, this team has clearly quit. They're waving the Cooper flag, folks. It's over. This is like the worst Sixers season that I can ever remember.
Can I give you a little stat that you didn't? Do you want to guess what Zach Collins' plus minus was last night?
Plus 35.
Higher.
Zach Collins. By the way, when they made that trade and they got Kevin Huerter and Zach Collins back and didn't get a real first-round pick back because they just got their own pick back, they got 2 of the worst contracts in the NBA and didn't get a first-round pick. And then they turned around and they destroyed the Sixers. So it was a plus what, 38, 39?
He, in 28 minutes, was plus 41 last night.
He's horrible.
That was the stat. I looked at the box score and I was like, that is never what you want to see.
That is unbelievable, dude. Zach Collins, who, by the way, showed up like he had just gotten back from Charlottesville with his haircut.
Yeah.
And just the white American boys just absolutely destroying this Sixers team. And then in addition to that, Josh Giddey, Matas Buzelis looked great. Anyone that was playing for the Bulls last night looked fresh and great.
Yeah.
And the Sixers were clearly dead on arrival in that game. I mean, it was kind of a statement for the entire season, obviously. But the bigger picture stuff here is kind of what I wanted to talk about today, which is, I mean, look, I know Sixers fans don't want to hear it. I certainly don't want to grapple with the reality of what is happening, but I think Mo Square on Twitter put it perfectly. Muhammad, he tweeted it. He said, has Embiid entered the Brandon Roy zone? Where it's just, we're 13 months away removed from him having surgery. We are now seeking alternative medical options for a knee that has not gotten better. If anything, it's gotten worse. The swelling won't stop. He can't play for more than 5 games straight, 6 games straight before it flares back up. He played in 19 games this season, and he might be shut down for the rest of the year now. It looks like that's probably going to be the case. And he left 3 of those games with an injury. So 16 full games completed this year for Joel Embiid. If you go all the way back to this last calendar year, he didn't really play that many games after he came back from surgery last year. He played a few games in the Olympics, but was not like playing like 40 minutes a game or anything. And now we're looking at a scenario where they're now exploring these treatments that literally have never been done before.
It's always what you want.
Yeah, that's a great thing that you want to hear.
Yeah.
Which when the announcement happened like 2 days ago or a day ago, whenever that was, what I assumed was they're going to explore the alternative treatment that Lonzo Ball went through, where he had to go to Europe because he's talked about procedures and he's talked about missing time and he's talked about needing a long time to recover and blah, 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 blah. But the thing that jumped out in my mind was Lonzo Ball 2 years ago had this meniscus transplant. It's experimental. No, they had never done it with an athlete before. And obviously Lonzo is now back in the NBA playing real minutes, all that stuff. But Kyle Neubeck reported that's not an option. And Spike Eskin, from what he heard, apparently he said this on WIP. I don't know if he said it on the Ricky as well, but he said that he heard that Joel is too physically big because you have to have someone donate their meniscus in these experimental surgeries, basically, these transplants. And Joel is 7'1", 300 something pounds. Like, an average person's meniscus is not going to be able to be transplanted to him and have it withstand the power of a guy that big.
We're gonna have to start like tracking like murder rates on our biggest Americans because Philadelphia fans are just going out and murdering someone and then scrawling in blood on the wall, "I donate this to Joel Embiid."
Yeah,
I mean, if they had Josh Shapiro take the case, that would be ruled a suicide. So I'm just saying it's a good setup.
He is a big Sixers fan.
Yes,
he's rang the bell before.
Has he really?
He's amazing. I know this because every time he rings the bell, I go, "That's a win." Because if we have lame people ring the bell, that's a win. And if we have cool people ring the bell, we lose every day. When the Eagles come and ring the bell, I think we're 0-3 this
year. The inversion bell.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to get Kamala in there.
Yeah, we need all of Pennsylvania's finest minds on top of this to save Joel Embiid's body and his career. But some of the things that have you heard some of the things that they've suggested? Now,
did they say they want to break his hip?
Okay, so that was Marcus Hayes, so take that with a grain of salt. But It does sound like so Marcus Hayes is normally, as we've talked about Marcus Hayes has a great relationship with Joel Embiid.
Sure, yeah. He was just openly fantasizing. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe he'll break his hip. I mean, it's experimental. It'll alleviate some of the pressure.
Can we do it in front of his family?
Yeah.
So he can understand what it's like to get pushed around?
He's like that Key and Peele sketch. The guy where he's like, the blood will run down his face. Let's go.
So Marcus Hayes, apparently, who normally is just old man who yells at cloud, cranky, boomer, whatever. He wrote a sourced article. It sounds like he spoke to people with the organization. He spoke to doctors, I'm assuming. And one of the things that was suggested was that they could possibly have some, once again, alternative treatment where you would basically break part of his hip bone. I don't know how any of this stuff works, guys. I'm just relaying information that we saw online. The other thing that people have discussed is the possible radiation treatment on his knee.
Always good. That's always something you want to be.
I say from personal experience, I've gone through radiation treatment. My dad has gone through radiation treatment. Right. The radiation itself, when you're going through the therapy, it can be, especially like I didn't have like a really serious cancer or anything, but it can be like manageable while you're actually having it. But the long-term ramifications of having radiation therapy is like, I still have side effects from it to this day. And I had it done for a few weeks 14 years ago. And my dad still has, he had his 15, 16 years ago. He only had it for a few weeks and had serious side effects from it for, the next 10 to 15 years, probably for the rest of his life. And I think that now that we're reaching this point where we're having these conversations, I'm just like, I don't know if we're ever going to see Joel Embiid play meaningful basketball again in his career. Like, I can't remember anything like this. Can you think of a single thing? Even like the more serious ones, it's like
Roy is like, Brandon Roy never won an MVP.
And also, like, okay, so like, I know Kemba Walker had the stem cell treatment in his knee. I think Kobe also might have had that at some point, like towards the end of his career, to try to salvage and get a few more years out of it. But first off, this was early in those treatments, like those style of treatments. And second off, I think they had already been done before. We're now reaching a point where they're talking about doing things that are like, basically an athlete's never done before. And I just feel like there really is no standard for this. And the most positive outcome I can possibly think of for the rest of Joel Embiid's basketball career, let alone life, like, does he really want to put himself through all of this just for the chance to like not ever be the same guy again? Like that's my thought, is like the physical and mental toll that this takes on a person is so enormous. That are you really going to do all this for like a 25 to 30% chance that you could get back to like being pretty good? Maybe not even as good as you were before, because your body's just at a different stage of its life, and your lower body has basically been falling apart for the better part of 10 to 15 years now. Like, I just look at it and I'm like, I think like even if I think of like the most optimistic I could come up with was like Blake Griffin, where Blake and Joel kind of had similar style careers in terms of like being top prospects, having lower body injuries. Obviously, Blake was a lot more athletic and reliant on his athleticism to be like a very good NBA player, but they both kind of had these issues. Someone commented this, I think it was last night on stream, that like that might be the like Pistons Blake Griffin, where he's forcing himself through it, and then eventually he ends up on the Nets as a role player and has like a nice season. But I can't really think of anyone. Like, Joel's 31 years old. He's not like 27. Like, he's in his 30s now. He doesn't seemingly, even if he can get back to being himself, he'll be 31 going on 32 next year. And I'm just starting to get to a point where I'm like, is it even worth it for him and his family and just to like live a normal life for the rest of his life, like beyond just basketball?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. I think Blake Griffin's like extended career, he's going to be diminished, like no matter what. If
Yeah.
he even, if he's ever able to play regular NBA minutes, MVP Joel's probably gone, which is a bummer. That's a huge bummer. Let me ask you this: do you think this changes the fortune of the team? I don't want to like pivot off the Joel thing too much. Just considering how disastrous the Paul George signing and contract has been, is it actually a little bit not advantageous, but is it like the fact that the Sixers are able to now have a very clear identification that like we are entering a rebuild timeline now?
Yeah.
Is that like a little bit of a blessing in disguise? Because I think if Paul George is chalked and Joel is like more like Joel was last year, where he's like kind of hurt but still effective, are you like, do you keep making trades that like fuck this up like longer term? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like not that it's good or anything that like Joel's career is probably
I get what you're saying.
over, but like I think that, I mean, hand up, that Paul George signing is also disastrous, which is another huge part of this with like everything. And I thought that was going to be great. It's been a disaster. Literally got like a second Tobias Harris. Like the second you get out from under the Tobias Harris contract, it's another Tobias Harris contract. I think that this, I guess what I'm saying is I think that it could be worse, which sounds bad, but like I think that it puts a mandate on the Sixers front office and the fans to look at this rationally rather than being kind of in the do we not go for it? Like, where do we, kind of where the LeBron Laker teams have been with like Anthony Davis over the last
before they got bailed out by.
Yes, exactly. Right.
So I've Kawhi's probably a good example too.
That's
where
a good
like
example.
Kawhi, and funny enough, also ended up with Paul George and James Harden at different points.
Right.
But I think the Kawhi situation is kind of what you're talking about in terms of, going too far in on a team that really has no chance to win a championship or like even contend meaningfully. But the thing that I keep coming back to with that is like, this is why I hated the cap space plan from the jump. And I wish I stuck with my guns on that because my whole thing has been, you have an MVP player in the middle of his prime. Who cares about tomorrow? Like, who cares about next season? Like, I know you don't think you can match up with the Celtics or if you get to the finals, the Nuggets or whoever, because, you have this Tobias Harris contract and the James Harden thing didn't go the way you wanted to, but tough shit. Like, your job is to make a contender around Joel Embiid. And if that requires you trading future draft capital 2 years ago, a year ago, whatever it is, or pivoting and making, by the way, like, honestly, like, once again, I don't think the Sixers were ever winning a championship, especially if Joel was just never going to be like healthy when it actually matters or himself. But I do think that there's another piece of information that gets lost here a little bit, which is that I always thought that he tore his meniscus when Jonathan Kuminga fell on his knee.
Yeah.
But I've learned that he probably already had a torn meniscus, and that made them look at and take the scans. And that made them find out that he actually did have a torn meniscus, and the fall might have made it worse because he fell directly on his torn meniscus. But the reason I say this is like, it's possible they were screwed either way. But in retrospect, like if you were deciding that you were trading James Harden, when you decided you were trading James Harden, you weren't going to extend him. The only thing that I think that they probably could have done differently to try to preserve Joel and not make it so he has to rush back for those kind of games and potentially hurt himself even further and now possibly end his career is like, you should have thrown yourself in front of that Drew Holiday to the Celtics trade. Because if there was one move to make, it was making sure that, like, once again, they were probably never going to beat Boston and they were probably never going to get to the finals and win, but you had an opportunity to block the Celtics from becoming like basically unbeatable. And you allowed that trade to happen when you had an unhappy James Harden who could have salary matched almost perfectly in that trade. And you could have then taken the draft capital that you got from the Clippers and sent it to the Blazers along with expiring contracts and whatever to then make a team that at least could have a puncher's chance in the playoffs and win the final. That was really the way. Like when they decided they were going to let Harden walk and go, I think that what's happening right now would have probably happened either way, to be honest with you. But the fact that they were so passive in that window and they decided, you know what, we're just going to take it a year off. We'll wait till the Tobias contract expires. We'll try to do that. That is what really fucked this whole thing. And by the way, I've said it, like, I'm fucking annoyed as shit with Paul George. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, he's just annoying as hell. Like, the comments he's constantly saying are just baffling. Like, and he's just, it's very obviously, like you said, it was like Tobias. It's like if Tobias had a podcast and never shut the fuck up and also wasn't a good locker room guy in the same way that Tobias was. But at the end of the day, none of this shit matters. Like you said, like none of this, once that decision was made that they were punting on last season and then Joel got hurt, that was the end of it. Realistically, the end of it was the Celtics series 2 years ago when they blew game 6. Like that was this is just like the final nail in the coffin. But the Drew Holiday trade, letting that happen and then turning around, letting the Celtics become unbeatable, winning the title, and then having this big plan then blow up in your face because you pushed Joel too far and he felt like he had to play with a fucked up knee. And then on top of that, getting an old wash Paul George who is like, it's all of it sucks. But ultimately what it comes down to for me personally is like, I actually think that it's probably good for the long term of the franchise. It's not great they signed Joel to that contract. I mean, I hear people being like, well, just trade Joel Embiid. And I'm like, are you serious? Bro, he has the worst contract in the NBA now. That's an unmovable contract, dude. Bro, yeah. You want to go Russillo mode for a second? Mm-hmm. He has a $69 million player option in 2028, 2029.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be picking that one up.
So, like, we talked about it a little bit on stream last night, and I was like, I think there's a world where they can trade Paul George this offseason if they attach it and they get back, like, not good money, basically. I'm not saying you're getting positive players back, but, like, could you trade Paul George for, like, Bradley
Zach
Beal
Collins or something? Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
There might be something out there this offseason. You're not getting good players back. You're not getting positive assets at a minimum. But you might get something. There's no world in which they can move Joel Embiid. That, like, you're do or die with Joel. Like, whether you like it or not, you're riding this thing out. And if anything, if it gets even worse than what we think it is right now, and he literally has to medically retire, they might be arguing to the league in 2 years from now to get him off the books. Like, they'll have to pay the contract out still, but there's, you know, the cap exception you can make for retired players, essentially, where you could basically force a guy into retirement to clear your books, but you're still paying that money. So either way, we're staring down like the barrel of a rebuild, no matter what, basically, if Joel is never the same.
But here's what I'll say though. It's not as like bleak as some of the other ones that have been, because here's the other thing. It's not like Paul George and Joel Embiid have been like helping the Sixers to win. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you need to like make some adjustment to like pick a direction the way that like, you know, a lot of tanking teams need to, where you've got to like get players out the door to like make you worse or whatever. The Sixers are just there. You know what I'm saying? They're just bad. So yeah, I mean, I think that's what you have to be. You look at like moving Paul George, Joel Embiid, like, why not? And like the other thing is, even if you could move him, even if that contract were movable and it was like you had to trade like 2 first-round picks or anything like that, is it even like fucking worth it? Why are you rushing? You know what I'm saying? No. Like, and also like, who knows? Maybe there's that the meteor that was supposed to hit Earth, like that percent chance of like Joel's one of these treatment catches, and then you have, you know, a pretty good play. He's not going to be an MVP again, but you still would have like a pretty good player still.
You'd have an all. You if you could get back to the world where he's an all-star like Blake Griffin was his last full season with Detroit, which was the comp that we were talking, where he's fighting through these knee injuries, but he has 1 or 2 final good seasons, and you know you can get like a competent. Like he had a stretch in December where I was like, oh, Joel's like at a minimum playing at an All NBA level. that lasted like 5 games. That's the problem. And it's once again similar to the Kawhi situation where we get Kawhi every once in a while where we're like, oh man, Kawhi's back. And then the next game he re-injures his knee or he can't play and we're back in the same situation. But honestly, the way that I look at this right now is like, if I had to guess, my guess is that their next year is their final year of testing this thing out, basically, where they go, we're going to try to tank art for the rest of the season, which by the way is very easy. Everyone has given up on Nick Nurse. You
don't have to do anything.
We don't have to do anything. The team sucks. Joel is now out. Even if you had the thought that he could ever get back to being somewhat decent, like that's not happening anymore. Paul George is checked out. Even Maxey seems kind of checked out. And also, by the way, is playing through an injury right now to his hand. He had more bad drop turnovers I've ever seen him have in his career last night because he could barely dribble the ball. And then last night in the same game, Quentin Grimes and Yabusele, who have been two of their more consistent players, got hurt. So that is that they're looking like, if you look at the rest of their schedule, they have 20 wins right now. I wouldn't be shocked if they finish with like 23 wins. Like their schedule is not easy down the stretch. They're going to be playing a lot of teams that need to win. Yeah. And when we go to New Orleans for that, like they're going to be closer in the standings than you would imagine to the Pelicans, who have like 15 wins right now or something. And
there's like a chance because like the Wizards, I'm sorry, the Wizards, watch out.
What do they have right now? 13 wins? 14?
I'm just saying, keep your eye on the Wizards. Marcus Smart has them boys playing hard.
I know they just had like 3 competent games in a row for the first time all season. Hold on. They're 10-47. I don't think that's happening.
No. Watch out. Watch out.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't let them get one.
So living in reality.
Okay. Fair enough.
So I think there are 3 teams that they have no chance of catching, which are the Jazz, who have 13 wins, the Hornets, who have 14 wins, and the Wizards, who have 10 wins. I think the Raptors are on the table. I think the Pelicans might be on the table. The thing with the Pelicans is that Zion's been amazing since he's come back, but they're just like, you can't play more than 25 minutes. Like he's been unbelievable, but they're making
like
sure
actively hurts them to play him. Like it's all downside to play him more than 25 minutes.
Exactly. Because one, you could re-injure him, and two, for this season, I guess you wouldn't really care, but he's also reportedly at like the best shape that he's ever been right now.
Keep that together.
So they don't want to fuck things up for next season. And also they want to get a high draft pick too. So but realistically, looking at the Raptors schedule for the rest of the season, I would put money on the Raptors passing the Sixers at this point, because the Raptors have finally gotten a little bit of health luck. Like they've had a stretch here where they're like somewhat healthy. Only Jakob Poeltl's out of the lineup right now of the meaningful players for them. And they're like playing like, and like the Raptors have a history of doing this where they're like, fuck it. Why not win a few extra games here? And normally it fucks up their pick or makes it so that they have to give their pick away like they did this past draft. But
the Raptors have owned the Celtics in Scotiabank Arena so far this year, as I can attest, and they've got another. So is that another W tonight against the Celtics?
I think the Celtics have figured it out a little bit, but I will say, I mean, we know historically the Knicks can't beat the Celtics now, but when they had RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, those two were low-key kind of Celtics killers.
It's a good point.
Emmanuel Quickley is probably the only Celtics killer you think sucks.
He's not really a killer, because I watch those games.
He had a few good games against you guys. Did he not?
It's like against Malcolm Brogdon. Like, who cares?
Yeah, your guys' disaster year where you lost in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. That's actually more like Chiefs shit. That's like, oh, we lost in the overtime of the AFC Championship game. That's not Eagle shit.
Yeah, it cost me any enjoyment I could get out of a title for the rest of my life. So,
you're such a baby.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but this is terrible. You have no idea what kind of struggle I have to go through.
Anyway, Joel Embiid might be currently in hospice.
Kings fans have it so easy. They have no idea what it's like.
Yeah, no pressure at all. Yeah. You know, just literally nothing ever
just
matters.
Get Zach LaVine for nothing except a guy who's disgruntled. Let me just get Kevin Herter off my team for free. What's
Yeah,
it like having the easiest life in the world?
I can't imagine the Celtics getting away with those kind of trades. Chat loves that one.
I will be hunted. I will be hunted by Sacramento fans for sport.
So, but yeah, no, I look at it like this. I think what's going to happen is they're going to see what's happening with Joel's knee.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll have to view next year as the test year. Can we get him back on a basketball court? Can we get him functioning and normal? And if the answer to that is no, then I do think that they're going to have to start considering a lot of fucking options. Because now, once again, would I cry if they traded Tyrese Maxey? Yeah, I probably would. I'd be very upset. He's probably my favorite Sixer of all time. And he seems to be pretty miserable right now. I don't think this is anything that they would do unless they were forced to do it, to be clear. Like, I think that they view this year and next year as a way to try to get Joel healthy, try to make a deeper, better team for next year, and hopefully get to a point where everything works in the way that they thought. They have Maxey and McCain next year. They can kind of keep things steady afloat, even if Paul George and Joel are out of the lineup. Someone proposed this question to me yesterday, actually, on stream. I wanted to...
Okay.
I said I actually think there's a good chance this happens. What are the odds that Paul George requests a trade this offseason?
It's possible. Why not?
I think it's more than like, it's very obvious he hates it here.
Bradley Beal, get ready to learn Philadelphia, buddy.
This is what I'm saying. Like,
I think that's a good trade, by the way, for the Sixers and their situation right now.
Okay, so that's if Joel's done.
Yes.
Because that's if you're not playing competitive basketball. That's if also the other piece of this is the thing that's up in the air right now is, does their pick convey? Because if they get down to the 5th best odds in the draft, they have like over a 50% chance of keeping their pick. If the pick they are able to keep their pick, I think that changes kind of their equation, the things moving forward, all that shit. I think that what they would explore essentially if they keep their pick is, can we add even more talent to this roster, try to really keep things afloat until we can hopefully get Joel back to normal. And then if everything works great. You don't have to think about all those things that I don't want to think about. But look, like, I don't want this to happen. I would be heartbroken. But like, if Joel Embiid is cooked and Paul George is just an albatross salary on your books that you can't get rid of, that's over $100 million in dead cap space for basically the start and middle of Tyrese Maxey's prime. And by the time that those salaries are off the books, Tyrese Maxey's going to be like 29, dude. Like, that's like 4 or 5 years from now. He's 28, 29. And with the players in his archetype, they don't tend to age amazingly well and play deep into their 30s. Like, you have to really start to explore a ton of different options if this thing goes completely sideways.
If they can't get rid of Paul George, I think you kind of have to do that, to be totally honest. Like, especially with Jared McCain kind of, I don't think Maxey's really, do you think Maxey's really a shooting guard? Like, I don't know.
I mean, I don't really care about the positional stuff as much as, will Maxey be, first off, would Maxey request a trade? like let's be honest. Like,
I don't think he's built like that.
In general, I agree, but also think about it like this. If we go into next year and we know Joel Embiid cannot play basketball, let's just hypothetically say that.
Yeah.
They don't get their pick. Let's just say the pick falls outside of whatever.
Yeah.
The avenues to improve this team and make it even like above like the play-in range, this will be the 3rd straight year where he's like, all right, well, I got to drag this sorry ass fucking team to like what, like, I mean, he can't even do that, to be clear, like with scrubs. Like, he needs a certain amount of talent around him. And he's like, what am I doing? And once again, I do agree that he is not built like that. He's not the kind of guy that will like ask out and like demand something happens. But if he's looking around, like, I mean, like, dude, like Jared McCain's really the only other like blue chip guy that we have. Paul George is aging and costs a ton of money. All of the other ways of improving this team are either via keeping that pick or Joel getting healthy. I wouldn't blame him if he's like, I want to go somewhere where I can at a minimum compete and make all-star teams. Like, he's never gonna make all-star teams. I don't even give a shit about like the roster composition and like how him and McCain fit, because you're not worried about championships anymore. You're worried about literally just being like a competent NBA team. And I think between those two, they're so talented that they could figure that out, even if they aren't like, once again, like contenders or whatever. But I don't know. I just kind of think I look at that situation and I go like, he's got 4 years left under contract, so this would still be like a year or two away, but I just would think that he would start to get to a point where he's just so frustrated with the direction of this team and how things have gone that I wouldn't blame him if he got to that point.
Just a little, I'm sure Sixers fans know this, but just to keep everyone else, the other thing about this, like obviously if it falls within the protected, if the Sixers keep the pick, basically you are passing that obligation to next year when it's a top 4 protection.
Yes.
The Sixers will probably not be good again next year. So they're also hanging over this. There's a Brooklyn pick that just basically conveys 2 years, like the year after. You have to have the gap year because of the Stepien rule. Basically, whenever the OKC pick conveys, the Sixers will get a pick in the middle, and then they will owe Brooklyn a first round.
Right now, that's a 2027 pick, but if it doesn't so if the Sixers keep their pick this year, that pick pushes back to 2028 because of the Stepien rule. Yeah. So basically, they'll owe 26 and 28 with light protections on them.
Essentially, it's 1 to 4, and then it's protected 1 to 8 both years. The thing is, if they can get through, if the Sixers can get to 2027 somehow, if they could hold on to their pick this year and hold on to their pick next year, that pick they owe Brooklyn goes to seconds. It becomes a fake.
I know, that's what Will is saying is happening. Will's like, what's going to happen is the Sixers are going to lose their pick this year, and then they're going to decide to go into rebuild mode anyway, and they're going to just tank for the years that they owe Brooklyn their picks, and then they're just going to keep their picks those years because they're top 8 protected. And by the way, another question that comes up here beyond that, like, so I've thought about the Maxey thing for a while now, like, because obviously I do not want that to happen. I would be heartbroken if we had to trade him. But the thing I've thought about is, like, I know you're going to smile when you hear this. If OKC's fatal flaw in the playoffs is that they don't have enough ball handling and shooting around Shea, and they have Sam is just serenely closing his eyes and smiling.
I'm doing the iShowSpeed streamer smile right now. For those of you, those Zoomers not paying attention. Yeah. Just thinking about it. Yeah.
If their fatal flaw proves to be that, and they can go to the Sixers and say, look, we know you want to rebuild around Jared McCain anyway. This Joel Embiid thing's done. This Paul George thing, like, you're not going to get out of it. Give us Tyrese Maxey. We'll send you salary, your own pick back, or another pick, whatever. We'll just send you a ton of fucking picks, and we'll add. I mean, that team would be. But he's exactly what they need, to be honest. Once again, I believe in OKC. I think they're contenders as is. But if their fatal flaw proves to be a lack of a secondary creator who is very good off the ball, an improving defender, a great shooter, someone who you can run a little bit of offense through because I watch these games, and once again, we know what the only thing that they've ever really struggled to do this year is when teams trap Shea, that they don't have guys that always are able to consistently make them pay. And if they got Maxey, there's no way you could do that.
Yeah, I think Maxey's value is depreciated right now because of how often he has had to be a primary guy, and he is not a primary guy. He can't be. However, he is maximized as a secondary offensive option. And that's exactly what it would be next to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
I've said it before. He's basically new age Kyrie. That, like, different kind of player. Like, obviously Kyrie's the handle god, shot creator god. Maxey is the crazy off-ball guy who, is improving on the ball and is just incredibly efficient at scoring for basically every level now. And especially when he's not tasked with that main shot creator burden that he wouldn't be in OKC. He would be the second guy, and he would be, by the way, playing with fantastic spacing and defenders who can help him. So he's Maxey is a good enough defender if he's the worst defender on the court that you could still win the championship, I think. And I think that what you would basically look at from there is like OKC would once again have to bowl you over with an offer. But this offseason, if they fall short, they got to make some sort of splash move, because there's basically no way that you can justify not doing that with all of the things that we've ever discussed with them. And this would be kind of a perfect opportunity. Now, I don't want this to happen. I would be happy for Maxey if he were able to get away and succeed somewhere else, but I would also be heartbroken just as a Sixers fan and someone who wanted to see him succeed and thrive here. But like, I'm starting to look at like all possibilities. This is if Joel Embiid is just never really going to be effective NBA player ever again. And these are the kind of things that I think that they will have to address this offseason, and then probably more so a year from now when we have a better idea of what it looks like with Joel Embiid's health, and whether, you know, they can compete even without him next year if it proves to be the case. But yeah, no, once again, you're now just getting a look into my deepest, darkest thoughts and why I've only been paying attention to the NFL recently.
I think here's what I would say, though. I don't think it's bad, obviously. Even if this scenario we're describing plays out, I don't think they're a bottom 5 situation in the NBA.
I mean, it's hard for me. So here's the thing. I've talked about this a lot with Sixers fans. I've talked about this a lot in general. Every other situation that we talk about, like grim futures or whatever.
Yeah.
It won't suck as much in the next 3 years for those teams as it will for the Sixers. Like, the next 2 to 3 years could be really tough for the Sixers. But if they could somehow get through this and keep the majority of their picks and hit on those picks, and they decide to do the Maxey McCain thing, or they even decide to trade Maxey and recoup a ton of picks or whatever, their future, like, they still have 2 star guards under the age of 25. That's a lot more than even teams in like bad situations have. Like, I think.
Would you rather have their situation or the Jazz's?
I'd probably rather have ours. The Jazz don't have any blue chip prospects. They don't have anyone who matters. Now, once again, this is kind of like, I
don't think they have picks as good as the Clippers picks either. I'm just going to put that out there. So sorry, go ahead.
I just want to make a definitive statement, though, because I always do this where I say, let's wait until after the draft to have these discussions, because any of these like really bad teams that can jump up and get Cooper Flag immediately changes my opinion of them.
Yeah, that's
true. So that's the difference, is that like, I think that we still have to wait, but yes, in general, I mean, I think I would definitely rather have the Sixers have 2 prospects that are better than anyone on the Jazz, except for Lauri Markkanen, who's like 30 years old and makes $45 million a year now. So like,
the Suns situation is incredibly bleak. We are a year away from that Bucks situation becoming unbearably bleak. I think there's worlds.
Bucks have an MVP though. They can make their way out of this.
They have like nothing. The way out of it is trading Giannis, and then you're basically just get you back to neutral.
Yeah, like, no, that's what I'm trying to say is that, like, if you have once again, if you have a competent enough front office and you have an MVP level player that you can trade, I think that you can figure out a way to rebuild your team over the course of like.
Here's the thing though. What if Oklahoma City doesn't want Giannis? Then what do you do?
Houston? I mean, there are teams that are going to be interested in Giannis. Now, the market, once again, we'll talk about the Knicks a little bit later, but like, and we just saw Luka Doncic get traded. So like, does anyone know what the market looks like for star players right now?
Well, and that was what I was going to say, the Knicks by name. Like, would you rather have the Knicks situation or the Sixers?
I would rather have the Knicks situation, just because even if it's a fake hope, like, and you're getting eliminated in the second round.
Second round? I was talking with Will about this. Are we sure the Knicks are in the second round?
Who are they playing in the first round?
The Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, I'm positive. I think the Pistons are getting so overhyped right now. It's actually driving me a little bit insane, but The Pistons have like 2 good players.
Cade Cunningham, are you hearing this? I who have
Cade's
always
great. I'm not
believed in
denying
you.
that Cade has owned me. Cade has been amazing this year.
Cade,
I don't doubt that. Their second best player is Malik Beasley.
go back and listen to the episodes when Trill was shitting on Cade Cunningham and I was in there defending him the whole time.
Me, the guy who said he could never make 3 All-Star teams.
Yeah, me and Ben Pfeiffer have been on Cade Island from day one. Ben will back me up. This is my guy. I didn't call him Justin Herbert. I didn't say that he was NBA Justin Herbert. That's not what happened. I don't know. I mean, do we think Malik Beasley will continue to be Ray Allen into the playoffs? Maybe not.
Small samples, you never know what can happen.
You never know. Yeah. The Knicks are alarming. Like, I know they came back again. I don't know. There's like the NBA is like really weird. I guess what I'm saying right now, there's a lot of like roiling going on in the NBA. Like, I think the Thunder are probably gonna stay pretty solid. I think the Rockets are gonna stay pretty solid going forward. Pretty much every other team in the NBA, I'm not super confident projecting their future out more than 1 or 2 years, like to be good or bad, so one way or another.
I don't disagree with that because I think a lot of teams, they got the climate change data and they said we're going all in. Yeah, and most teams went in on mid. That's just kind of the reality. I know this as a Sixers fan. We went on a mid for years. Yeah. But the reality of the situation right now, I talked about this a little bit on stream last night. I'm sorry. Adam Silver absolutely rigged the Luka to the Lakers trade. Are you telling me he couldn't rig a Giannis to the Knicks trade if he wanted to? Like, they can deny it all they want, dude. There's we had no idea. Oh, the ratings happen to suck, and LeBron is really and the Lakers are really like your last hope if we could get like a Lakers-Celtics finals, and we could get, come on, dude. Third eye open, dude. They could get Giannis to the Knicks if they really wanted to. I'm just saying, I think that where the big market bailout shit is like could possibly happen in the next few years.
What is that trade going to be, though? That's like an impossible.
We just saw Luka get traded.
I guess that's
Luka get traded for Anthony Davis. Who's always injured at 31.
Trading Cat and like fucking Mikal Bridges for Giannis. That's foul. That's so foul. Oh, God.
Anthony Davis is an all-NBA player. What is Karl Anthony Towns?
I'm just saying. Yeah, man, that would make me mad. But
once again, am I going a little bit Alex Jones mode? Yes. But I'm convinced I'm still convinced that no person in their right mind would make a decision like the Mavericks made and Nico Harrison made unless there was a gun pointed at their back. I'm just like something I've been hearing, like kind of, I don't want to like speculate, obviously take this with a grain of salt, but like they're basically the stuff I'm hearing now is like, it's so like like they're like, well, they were worried about like Luka's drinking is like, and it's like, either you're the dumbest front office ever, or like you're just grasping at straws trying to like get some of this other things. So I don't know. That is still one of the craziest things of all time. I mean, will it deliver me from having to eat crow on the Oklahoma City Thunder when Luka defeats them in round 2? Perhaps, but I don't want that to happen. Sam is sitting in the executive cuck chair to the point where he's literally rooting for the team he hates the most in the NBA because it will prove a single narrative that he has right. I'm doing the Gendo Akari pose from Neon Genesis Evangelion in the executive cuck chair. The executive, my cuck desk is laid out. I have my Lakers stationery over here. I'm not pumping my fist every time Luka destroys Lou Dort when Lou Dort shoots 29% from 3 in that series. I don't want that to happen. I'm observing it like this. It's that anime thing where my glasses are the reflection of my glasses. You can't see my eyes. Like, yeah. You're unbelievable. I've seen the post and I'm like, it's disturbing. I said this last night, but do you know the Onion article from like the most prophecy filled Onion article of all time, which was from 2003, which is the Iraq War counterpoint.
No,
okay.
Counterpoint. No, it won't. Yeah.
Okay. So for anyone who doesn't know this, there was an Onion article that was written at the beginning of the Iraq War. There was essentially like the Iraq War will cause an anti-American sentiment, destabilize the Middle East, and create this sentiment that basically the rest of the world despises America, and everyone will turn against us and the American empire in general. And then the other argument to it was, no, it won't. So it was point counterpoint. That's why I feel like when we talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder, I had this whole thing planned where I was going to be like, this, by the way, this is literally in the middle of them just before they blew the lead last night, where I was like, oh my God, if they keep this lead up, like they're going to have the greatest point differential in NBA history. Their net rating is going to be the greatest in NBA history. Every team in the top 8, I think 8 or 9 in point differential has gone on to win the NBA finals. Like there's no teams in that. And I had all this stuff, and then they blew the lead last night. And I was like, okay, now I can't even do the counterpoint argument that I wanted to make here on the podcast. Because there's nothing I can say until we get to the playoffs that will ever convince you otherwise.
That's why it's perfect. The perfect defense. I want you all you young people. This is how you argue about sports, by the way. This is how you do it right here. Just deny, depose, something else. Do it until you buy yourself a little bit of time. Here's what I'll say. Because a lot of people are throwing this back in my face, being like, this is exactly what happened with the Celtics last year. Everyone was denying them.
Their record's like almost identical to the Celtics at this point last year, too.
Yeah, exactly. Can I tell you what the difference is? Jason Tatum did not win the MVP last year.
So Shea winning MVP will curse them.
Yes.
And make it so that because who was the last MVP to win the finals? Wasn't it like LeBron?
I think it's got to be LeBron.
On the Heat?
On the Heat, yeah, probably. I would think so.
No, it had to be the first Steph year.
Oh, yes. No.
Steph 2015.
For sure. Yeah, 2015 Steph.
Because even the Jokic year was the year Embiid won.
Yeah, that's very funny.
Yeah. That's actually amazing. So
was it not the Giannis?
No, Giannis never won, because Giannis won 2. Everyone called him a fraud because of what happened in the bubble, and then he won the next year.
Oh, okay. That's what that went. Okay.
That's what's so funny is that it's always the off year, whether it's because everyone has decided we're not giving you any more MVPs like Giannis, or with Jokic, where it was a little bit of that, and also just the fact that they kind of didn't give a shit the last like month and a half of that season. And Joel made like a strong push for it, which if we know about the history of the MVP, the last month and a half actually matters. Like the first month of the season almost never matters for MVP. Like if you look at like historical straw polls, by the time we get to the second straw poll with Tim Bontemps, that's where we know we have a better idea of who the MVP is going to be. But a lot of the times, like the first one, like is, it doesn't matter quite as much. I think Tatum was the front runner at this for the first straw poll last year.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the year, it turned out to be Jokic again. But SGA is definitely going to win MVP.
He's going to win. I would bet $1 million that he's
they're going to have the second best record in the NBA. The only other team that's going to be close is the Cavs, who have a committee team. All of their players, I think they'll get 3 all NBA players, but I don't think that they're going to have.
Donovan Mitchell's not winning MVP.
No, I mean, he's statistically not even close. And it's obvious that they rely so much on Shea, like the on-off show. When you watch them, and as I've said, like I believe in this team a lot, but ultimately what their fatal flaw potentially could be is the non-Shea players just not having enough juice.
We both fucking called this before the year, by the way, because this is just the perfect narrative. We both thought Oklahoma City would be amazing. Mm-hmm. We both knew Shea was going to be really good. There's Jokic voter fatigue. There's there's
Embiid's out. Giannis doesn't play enough games anymore.
Yeah, Shea is like the perfect. I always like looking at like who gives good articles for media people to write, and Shea is like the perfect like subject for like writing articles.
Even before he was a star, he kind of was. I remember his rookie year, he got like a ton of love. And I remember even being like, yeah, he's pretty good, but he's become way better than I think anyone had ever imagined.
Well, you can do hyperbolic shit, like say, like he's Michael. We haven't seen that somebody score like this, like inside the arc since Michael Jordan. Like,
I think other than KD, I think he's having one of the most efficient, like mid-range scoring seasons of all time.
Yeah, and he's been great. But I'm just saying, there's no scenario. I know Jokic, like technically, like, by the numbers, it's actually pretty close.
No one would pick
but no one's
SGA over Jokic. Like in terms of like, you can have one player on your team.
Yeah,
that's a different argument.
That's a different argument. Like everyone knows Jokic is better than SGA.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what the award is, and that's not how this is going to be processed. Like, hopefully, you guys listened to us before the year, and hopefully you didn't listen to our Runners podcast, and you did listen to our awards ones because we did very well on those ones, and you would have put money on SGA, and you'd probably be cashing that right now.
Was he the favorite? He had to be the favorite, right?
No, I think Jokic
was. I think you're right.
Yeah. I think Jokic was before the year. I think he was like 2 or 3.
Oh, I feel bad. We had one person who listens to the podcast post their ticket, and it was SGA MVP, Wembanyama Defensive Player of the Year, and I actually think if I remember,
could have won. I think he would have won. I think he would have won if he didn't get hurt, which is
because now it's going to be like Jaren Jackson Jr. or Evan Mobley.
Yeah,
he was like running away. Did you see that tweet from that guy? Which I still don't know if it was real, but he was like, "I'm going to put 10K on Victor Wembanyama. I know that it's minus 3,000 right now, but there's no way he doesn't win." And then literally hours later, it came out that he's out for the rest of the season.
Wow. Yeah, no,
I still don't know if that was a bid or not, but if it wasn't, that guy's life is ruined.
Yeah, that sucks. But like, I was going to say, we killed it because again, with these awards, just look at what writers want to do. Like, you have to like embody the blogger, embody the NBA media creature, like, and you can get good at predicting.
I think this is the second straight year maybe third straight year you've called MVP. Are you on a Peter Schrager streak?
I might be Schragging right now. I don't know.
Peter finally lost?
Did I get Embiid 3 years ago?
I think you did.
Because I think
I think you called Embiid preseason, and then you immediately went back into the writer's mind, and you said everyone's going to be furious with Joel.
Yeah.
And by the way, prior to the injury last year, I think he was playing so well that he might have even overcame that.
Yeah.
Because remember, he averaged 40 something for a month. And before he got hurt.
Yeah.
But Joe, you were like, everyone's going to be mad at him, and everyone's going to be like, Jokic is clearly the best player, and we're so mad for what we did last year that we're going to give it to Jokic no matter what. And he won again last year. Yeah. So you got Embiid, Jokic, and now SGA. I'm pretty sure you're on a three-year streak, if I remember correctly.
It's going to feel awesome picking Jason Tatum next year when the Celtics come down year after.
Well, that would be him picking the Peter Schrager picking the Chiefs to three-peat.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say. Well, look, I think what happens next year. I think the Celtics win this year, go back to back, and then Jason Tatum's MVP year is next year, and they like lose in like round 2.
That I was gonna say that actually makes sense because then if they win again this year, all of the arguments go out the window against Tatum not being whatever all the naysayers for Tatum. Like, they really have no argument left if they win again, especially because he's been just as good, if not better, this year. Yeah. And if
he's definitely been better this year for sure. Yeah.
But either way, like if he balls out in the playoffs and especially in the finals, which he has not yet done, then next year will be a complete rewriting of his legacy, which will essentially be like, oh, we should have always been giving him like top MVP votes instead of putting him in the second tier, which that would be very funny if that happened and they lost in the second round.
You know, I'm like very negative against the Celtics like a lot of the time. I'm starting to feel like I don't think there's any way, barring some sort of major injury, that the Celtics aren't in the final, at least in the finals again. I'm pretty sure they're going to win the finals this year. I feel very strongly the Celtics are going to win the finals this year.
I also kind of feel that way. I've been fighting it off. But that Knicks game the other day, I was like, yeah, I just watched it. And I know the Knicks, once again, another thing that we actually did call was, remember we did our overreactions podcast the first week of the season, and we were all like, yeah, the Knicks are going to get destroyed by the Celtics every time they play. Like we were like Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns are not going to be able to survive against this offense.
You called that the cat trade night when we were both like fucking inebriated.
Yeah,
because we like ran home. You said that like that you were like, I think this like will help them in the regular season, but like they're not going to be like viable against the Celtics.
Yeah. I was like, it made them a better team against 28 teams in the NBA, 27 teams, whatever.
Yeah.
But against like the three best, who by the way, they haven't beat it all this year.
The Cavs, I heard that stat. They're like 0-11 or something against those teams. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. The Cavs, the Celtics, and the Thunder, against 26 or 27 teams, they are legitimately like a good, very good team. And then against the top teams, like they don't have many losses. They only have 20 losses on the season, and they're 0-7 against the three best teams in the NBA.
Yeah.
So they have created basically a team that can destroy bad teams, beat up on mid teams, and then when you get to the like decent teams too, they take down occasionally. But all of the Knicks, I actually did want to talk a little bit about the Knicks. Before we do, I never got a chance to put a bow on the Sixers conversation.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Cook.
Do we think Nick Nurse gets fired after the year?
I don't think he gets fired, but I think there might be a mutual parting. I don't think Nick Nurse wants to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think possible. I think it's like a mutual parting of ways or something.
Especially because I think Nick Nurse would still get another job. Yes. I don't think that it's kind of similar to it's different than the Doc thing from a few years ago. Because once again, everyone's mad at Nick Nurse. I understand you. Of course, you're going to get upset with the coach, but like, this is not what Nick Nurse signed up for. Like, most coaches don't sign up for the best player getting injured and then everything going to shit. Like, they were great for 40 or 50 games with him when everything was going decently, health-wise and all of that last year. And now it just hasn't been. So there could be a mutual parting of ways, and then he could maybe go get another job. Yeah, maybe Portland, somewhere like that. That's what Peter suggests in the comments. That's a good, like, a team that wants to take like the next step, basically, in like in terms of competing for maybe a team like Portland, who's kind of bad right now, but could potentially be good next year. Honestly, I'm wondering if Daryl Morey did not get this extension a year ago, is he fired already? Because I feel like he would be.
Oh. At least this, like, once the season's over, I think he would be. He might still. Well, how long was the extension? I don't know. So Josh Harris isn't really built like that.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I've been saying. And the difference between Nick Nurse is that Nick Nurse could go get another job, and they wouldn't have to pay him once he gets that contract.
Yeah.
With Morey, if he fires him and no other team wants to take Morey, or Morey's like, fuck it, I'll just not work for a year or two, or 3 years.
Daryl Morey would absolutely do that. Yeah.
So one of the things that people have been talking, which if this rumor is true, I might actually be done with the Sixers if this happens. Do you know who he hired to find the general manager for the Washington Commanders?
Oh. I think I did hear this, but I forgot. Who was it? It
was Bob Myers. Which is so funny to me because I literally said, if you were to hire one GM, like if you looked at Daryl Morey and Bob Myers and what they do well, even if you want to like be nice to Bob Myers and say like he helped them get Iguodala, he got the Kevin Durant thing over the finish line, he got the Andrew Wiggins trade, he makes good teams great. Daryl Morey is the opposite. Daryl Morey can't get the team over the top. He can't do what Brad Stevens did and come in and trade for Derek White and Porzingis and Drew Holiday. He can't do that.
That's like I think that's the hardest thing for a GM to do, to be totally honest.
But what he can do is he can draft Tyrese Maxey. He can trade for James Harden. He can draft McCain. He would be a good rebuilding GM when you want to get to the next level. So like if the Sixers really want to rebuild after this season, firing Daryl Morey and bringing in Bob Myers is the worst thing you could possibly ever do.
Yes, 100%.
Because Bob Myers has made so Draymond Green pick aside, which I do have to give him some credit. He got Draymond Green in the second round. Like obviously not not nothing. That's an amazing pick.
It's one of the best second round, top 5 second round pick all time. Yeah,
of course. It's like Manu, Jokic, Rodman, him. Like there's not many second round picks that are on that level.
Yeah.
I still look at his track record since then, bro. The post that draft, his best pick was probably Moses Moody.
Yeah,
he never hits on late firsts. Even when he had 3 lottery picks, he drafted Wiseman, Kuminga, and Moody in very good drafts. Pass on a ton of stars. Like, he would be a nightmare for a rebuild. Now, if they were in their position a year or two ago, he might have been a fine GM to get them to the next level. But that would be the worst possible thing that could happen if those rumors are true. So I actually think you should let Morey see the rebuild through for the next 2 years, 2 or 3 years, and see if he can draft you future stars and then fire his ass and then bring in someone who's serious about getting the team to the next level. I would never, ever hire Bob Myers. Yeah. Bill brought this up on his podcast, and a few other people have floated it out there, and it makes me want to fucking be sick.
Here are his other picks outside of Draymond Green, because 2012 was his first year, right? I believe.
Yeah.
Harrison Barnes, 7. Festus
Ezeli. That's a fine pick. It's not a great pick, but it's not bad.
Festus Ezeli, 30. It's like again, no, fine. I don't know. It's like
actually Jordan Poole probably is his.
That's where I'm getting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kevin Looney, 30. Good. That's a pretty good pick.
Kevon Looney's fine.
Damian Jones, 30. No. Jacob Evans, 28. No.
Yeah. That's
guys miss there all the time.
Sure.
Whatever. Eric Pascal and Mia Owen. Yeah, no.
The second round.
Yeah. And then Jordan Poole, 28.
Jordan Poole was a good pick considering where he went. I mean, they probably shouldn't have given him that much money. But that's a good pick. I mean, he helped them the year they won the finals. But I just want to point out here, Chiodo said this to me earlier today. He's like, Chiodo hates Morey. Like, he's never liked Morey. He's always gotten annoyed by him, like, whatever. He's like, but the one thing, like, he's missed on one pick.
Yeah.
And it was Jaden Springer, and there was one good player left on the board in Herb Jones. For the rest of the draft, like, and you can nitpick and be like, well, Io assumed who cares? Like, Io's a fine player, but like, you're not losing sleep over it.
Also, like, I don't. Jaden Springer is like also like an NBA player.
I don't know about that, but I thought the pick was good at the time. Like, I would be lying to you if I didn't say that that's the kind of swing you should be taking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But, okay, Santi's the other one. So there were 2 guys, Santi and Herb Jones. And other than that, the rest of the draft is not very good in that second round. And we picked at the end of the first there. Now, you could probably do the same thing with Bob Myers, to be fair, because they picked at the end of the first a lot because they were winning championships. But having said that, to miss on one pick in the 5 years you've been the GM here. Now, did he get impatient with Isaiah Joe? Yes. But like, Paul Reed was a good pick. Maxey was a great pick. McCain was a great pick. Isaiah Joe was a great pick. Like, they legitimately can draft. That's the only thing he can do well.
Can I give you a hypothetical that I just thought of just now?
Mm-hmm.
You're Daryl Morey this offseason. You get a call. It is the small bean drafting team themselves, the Memphis Grizzlies.
Mm-hmm.
They want a challenge trade. Ja Morant for Tyrese Maxey.
I would rather have Tyrese Maxey. Straight up. Like, not even contract and age. Like, I literally think Ja Morant does not look the same this year. He had that little stretch earlier this year, but I'm like, I love Ja. Ja is amazing, but he is the archetype of player that falls off very fast.
That's what I was going to say. I think if you brought that to like most people, they would be like, obviously the Sixers say yes to that. And I don't think that's true.
No, I think Maxey's more available. I think that he's a little bit younger than Ja. And he's also like, if everything went decently for the Sixers this year, in a way that it kind of has for the Grizzlies, to be honest with you, Maxey would look much better. And Maxey would have probably made the All-Star team. Ja has just not been Ja this year. Like, he had a little stretch earlier this year where he came back, but like I don't know if it's the injuries or what, but things don't really seem to be going in the direction that I thought they would for Ja. I would straight up rather have Maxey because he can shoot.
Can I say this? I do think that's the kind of trade that Daryl Morey would make. Maybe not like 1-to-1 with the shooting, but like in terms of getting upside, because I don't think he's trading Maxey for like cents on the dollar.
I disagree. I don't
really.
I actually think Daryl Morey's low key kind of. He's way more conservative than he gets credit for. Like people think he's this crazy aggressive GM. I don't think he would do that.
Here's the
thing.
All
the analytics are trending positively for Maxey and negatively for he's an analytics guy.
Well, that's true, and I think that's what, especially with like the shooting stuff. Mm-hmm. But I mean that I think he is kind of more of a have to win the trade guy though. And I think that I think that he's not going to. I don't think you really think he's going to trade Maxey for like draft picks and like somebody who's like not a similar caliber player? Because I think that is
okay. So the reason why I think that he could do that is because ownership gives him a mandate of you have to rebuild. Like I don't think it's once again he didn't want to trade James Harden. He wanted to sit on that for the whole season. He wanted to do what he did with Ben Simmons, and they told him. You have to make this trade or else like you're fired basically. You're not getting the contract extension. Because by the way, he got extended literally right after he traded James Harden. This is what I'm saying though.
That's so funny.
But what I'm trying to say is like if ownership went to, by the way, I've said this before and I will say it again. The reason why owners love Daryl Morey is because he does whatever the fuck they say and he gets them under the tax every year. That's all they care about.
Yeah.
Like if they went to him, to him. He got job security. He did what ownership said. He saved the money. If they went to him and they said, "Listen, you got to trade Maxey and we got to rebuild, or you got to do something," I don't think that he would be opposed to getting draft picks and whatever. Now, would he maybe resign a year or two from now? After that, maybe. But Nate pointed this out last night. He went on Bill's podcast like 6 years ago and was like, I've always wanted to be the GM of a rebuilding team, but I've never gotten an opportunity because everywhere I go has always been like competent, basically. This has been his plan the whole time. He knew Joel was cooked.
He's just kicking Joel like as he walks by him.
He knew Paul George was washed.
He was laying Home Alone traps out for Joel. Joel's walking up the stairs and a paint can comes down and hits him.
That would be the most normal Joel Embiid injury, by the way. Like every time he gets hurt, I'm like, I didn't even know that was possible. Happen? Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
I've been obsessed with ever since that report came out about Ja Morant. Have we talked about that on the podcast? That's because that's kind of insane.
Oh, I think I think we talked about it a little bit, but I know that everyone's going to throw their hands up and say you're insane. I kind of don't blame the Grizzlies.
It certainly makes more sense. It's getting compared to Luka a lot.
That's insane.
And I'm sorry, it's not the same situation at all. Like
Luka made the finals last year, and he's just a way better player than Ja.
I have a lot of Grizzlies fans on my life and in my timeline. Shout out to Galactic Dad, who's just started calling Ja Morant number 12. Which is it's the number that's always a bad sign when your fans are calling you strictly by your number.
Yeah. Especially when your number is also a nickname for cops.
Is that? Oh my God, that's so true.
Never heard the term "fuck 12" before?
No, I didn't put that together until now. I'm getting that right? That's his jersey number 12.
Mm-hmm.
I believe so. Yeah. Okay. But Grizzlies fans are like kind of fed up, which is kind of like that's an insane like 3 to 4 year turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
Where like I would say Ja Morant was like one of like the most ironclad, would not get moved under any circumstances, like young player. He had to have been top 5 in Bill's trade value column like 4 years ago, right? Like,
oh, he was top 10 at a minimum. Yeah.
Like when he was
2 years ago, or the series in 2022.
Yeah.
He was in his 3rd season in the NBA and had like 40 points against the Warriors in the playoffs.
Who won the title, which is crazy.
He could have won an MVP probably at that point. Like the projection was like clear all NBA player, maybe potential MVP Derrick Rose style one day.
Oh, and it's funny you bring up Derrick Rose because, like, obviously there hasn't been like a catastrophic injury, but like, what is this? I guess is my thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because the Grizzlies here's the thing. The Grizzlies are good. And like maybe it's as simple as this. It's just like in order for them to be good, you just can't have Ja Morant involved. So like what's the landing spot for him? This is like crazy. Like, is it the Nets? Like, does Will pull his hair out? Do we have to like go wrestle the gun out of Will's hand, Casey Affleck in fucking Manchester by the Sea style, or?
Yeah, I know it's tough. It's tough to think about that because Ja, the reason why I don't think they'll trade Ja is because Ja is not at everyone's like, oh, you're just selling. Well, Ja's at like the lowest point of his value
Ever.
He has not been at a high point of his value for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And if you're trading Ja, you're probably quote unquote losing that trade unless a team just blows you away with an offer. And I don't see a team doing that, which is weird to say because like Ja is,
because I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you, but I feel like because I agree with you. I've seen some of the like recent Ja Morant. I'm like, ooh, yikes! I think somebody would talk. I think there is one team out of the 29.
Houston, Billy just commented.
It's just like such a bad fit. They just don't have shooting. You know what I'm saying? Like it's such a bad. Like, is it the Jazz? Like, did the Jazz?
Oh God, John Utah. That would be tough for him. I'd feel bad. Although, if you want to get him away from the nightlife, man, they don't have anything there.
Yeah.
Well, I had the opposite thought of that, which was house challenge trade. Okay. Ja Morant for Trae Young. I would do that in a heartbeat if I were the Grizzlies.
If I'm the Grizzlies, absolutely.
Not even a question.
No, there's no. That would like solve all of their. That would solve everything. You know what I'm saying? Your defense would suck. Like that puts a lot of stress on like Jaren Jackson Jr. Sure. But like in your Edey lineups, I don't know. You know, I mean, once again, we Edey pick and roll would be pretty. We have
now. If your goal is to win it's going to sound bad because I feel like I'm always hating on the Grizzlies and a lot of these like younger-ish teams like the Rockets and the Grizzlies and the Pistons and whatever. Maybe it's just I need to see it to believe it kind of thing in the playoffs. But like, I guess my thing with the Grizzlies is like, do people really think they can win the championship? Because I don't think they can.
Not this year.
I mean, I don't think they have any pathway to win the championship outside of like finding another star that they draft. And like, once again, could that happen? Sure. But like, I don't think it's highly likely. I mean, they're very good at drafting. Don't get me wrong. But I just look at that team right now and I go, if Ja can ever get back to being like all NBA level Ja, then maybe I change my opinion on this. But my biggest thing is like, okay, trading for Trae Young means you can't win a championship. Well, you're not winning a championship anyway.
Like, I'm also like not sure that's true.
I do think that it probably caps your ceiling at the conference finals, but they also have never made a conference finals with this core, so why do I give a fuck?
And weird shit happens. We've been through like how the last 5 championships have all had some level of bizarre luck. Like all you have to do is put yourself in that tier. Which is why, again, another reason the Luka trade is so fucking stupid, because you just are just in that tier automatically.
I will say one of the things I think that probably benefits the Grizzlies is that I think that we are trending away from like, I'm not saying that you don't have to have one of the 5 or 6, 7, whatever best players in the NBA to win a championship. But I do think your 5th guy being very good and playable in the playoffs is becoming more important than it ever has before.
Yes.
Starting with the Celtics last year. Kind of going if the Thunder, the Celtics, or the Cavs win this year, those are the only 3 teams I think can win the championship.
Well, that's honestly, that's kind of my primary argument against the Thunder is because you're going to have like Aaron Wiggins or Isaiah Joe out there, who I don't think are genuinely like good playoff caliber like rotation guys.
Well, we'll see because a lot of it comes down to health for them, and also I've had my question marks about their fringe guys in terms of like. Do I believe that in Game 6 of the NBA Finals that Cason Wallace and Lou Dort can hit open threes? Maybe not. And that is probably the thing that I, once again, other than the secondary shot creation, I think is the biggest red flag for them. But once again, if we're talking about teams that I think can win the NBA Finals, those are really the only three. Like, I think the Knicks have proven to be way too flawed.
Yeah.
Is there any team out of the West? I guess the Nuggets, you have to just do it because of Jokic.
That's what I was gonna say. And they've been playing. I know they just got their ass kicked the other day, but like,
yeah.
I don't know. With like Murray looks right. I know that like Brown and all those other guys are like, not good. They have been around. They've been in wars. They know what they need to do. They've won a championship. Like,
yeah.
When they have,
is this Jokic's Mahomes year from last year, where everything seems to be kind of like not going their way, and then they still win anyway? Where it's like, it's not to say that the Nuggets have been bad, but like they just got smacked by the Lakers the other night, and then Jokic came out after the game and was like, "We kind of had a Mickey winning streak."
Yeah, I think. Well, here's what I would say. I believe in my heart of hearts that like Denver is like more of a playoff team than like a regular season team. Like just simply because of how unreal, outlandish like Jokic is, and I think that they have a lot of the other things, and I think they're kind of being forgotten about a little bit because they ran into a team that was like literally built to beat them last year, and like the Nuggets probably go back to the finals last year, and I think the Celtics probably still win. But like, I think they beat the Mavericks pretty, not easily, but I think it definitely makes the finals more interesting, to say the least. So I just feel like people are writing off Denver like a little bit like too quickly. I agree that Cleveland, well, the Celtics and Thunder are clearly on their own tier. You could even argue the Thunder are on their own tier. I think Cleveland, you can't argue with like some of the numbers and everything like that, but like, I do think Denver is closer to Cleveland than they are to like the pack, like the rest of like the West and like the Knicks and like
we were supposed to do post-trade deadline check-ins right now. I gotta say, I really like the early results of the DeAndre Hunter fit with the Cavs. I think that obviously he's shooting really well right now, and he is a good shooter. But the thing that I've thought that they've missed for a while was just a regular wing. And like, I don't think he's a great player, but I also think that team just can kind of add guys and make things work. Yeah. And they've figured out a way so far to kind of like, he's fit in great with them so far. They have not really missed a beat since they made that trade. And that's one of the things that you worry about when you're like why these really good teams like the Celtics and the Thunder did not make a trade at the deadline. Yeah. Is usually because you're like, why would we fuck up the chemistry when our team is firing on all cylinders? The Cavs could have done that. The Cavs could have just went into the playoffs with Karis LeVert coming off the bench. George Niang probably out of the rotation, and they could have said, look, we're still going to be really good. We're going to compete. We'll probably make the conference finals. And I think that they decided, like, we're going to take a swing. And I think the DeAndre Hunter thing at least gives them. The thing that I worried the most about them was having playable wings in the playoffs. And I think that Hunter is not going to be great in a Celtics series. Sure. Who the fuck is good in the Celtics series? Like, that's the thing is like, I've seen clips go around of like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown carving up DeAndre Hunter. And I'm like, bro, they do this to fucking everyone. Like I don't think you can make trades based on who can survive in a Celtics series because 95% of the NBA is going to be bad in the Celtics series. So like the fact that they have a wing who can make open shots, that can occasionally have the ball, that is competent defensively, I think could swing some fortunes for them in like pushing the Celtics at a minimum or like guaranteeing that they get to the conference finals basically. Because right now, if it's anything but Cavs Celtics in the conference finals, I would be shocked. Because do you think any of those maybe the Bucks or is there a world where the Bucks or the Knicks can get to the conference finals over the Cavs? I don't see it.
Yeah, I hate to like write off Giannis because again, it's basically the same. It's the same. It would be the kind of a pretty similar argument to what you're making for Denver, but like pretty more extreme, basically. Mm-hmm. I don't think I just don't. They're just so much older, and like the Kuzma thing, I don't. I would have said the thing. I also probably would have said the Magic before their season like spiraled out of control, like earlier this year. Like, no, I don't really believe in the Pacers.
Yeah.
All of those teams could like fucking lose to the fucking Pistons, in my opinion. Like,
I don't know why you're so high on the Pistons. I don't know why everyone's so high on the Pistons. I'm like genuinely really confused. Like regular season wise, absolutely, I understand. But like we've talked about, like tryharding in the regular season can get you so far, and like when it comes down to the playoffs, you have to have good players, and like they just don't have enough good players. Tobias Harris is terrible in the playoffs. Like he's like their third best player. Like, what are we talking about? They have one player who can dribble a basketball. The Hawks trapped him. I know that they ended up winning that game, but when he was cooking them in the first half, they trapped them for the rest of the game. Like, don't get me wrong, the Pistons are a cool story, but like, I don't understand why anyone thinks they can win a series. When have we ever seen a team that's built like the current Pistons win a playoff series in recent memory?
The Pacers last year.
The Pacers last year, who ran into the Bucks without Damon Giannis, and then they
could do it again.
Okay, all right. So, all right, let's check back in April, and if a team is missing two of their best players, and then get to the second round, and then that whole team dies. I guess also, I think that Pacers team was just more talented. Now the Pistons definitely have some like real good defenders. Like they definitely have Asar. I mean, Cade's pretty good on that end too.
Our
Dutch,
beautiful boy
our guy
Dutch.
Ron Holland off the bench. Yep. Like they have a lot of size and wings, and wings are important in the playoffs. I'm not convinced that the Pistons have as much talent as Siakam, Miles Turner, Halliburton, Nembhard. Like right now, like they're a year away for me. Like if next year, if they do this again and they add more talent in the offseason, then yeah, sure, let's talk about it. But like this year, there's no way that they win a playoff series in my mind. They can't beat the Knicks, dude. Like I know the Knicks have looked bad against the Celtics, the Thunder, and the Cavs, but like that's a different tier of team.
Talk to me. I'm sitting on this contrarian take. Will and I have been discussing. Will, who's driven by Knicks hate, so I know he's not like coming up. I feel like Will is trying to like Jedi mind trick me into like making this take, but like I'm thinking about it. I'm considering it very strongly. So okay, I'm just gonna say, yeah.
Once again, all right, let's just do a quick exercise real quick, because I know that you want to make this contrarian take. Let's rank the best players in a Pistons and Knicks series.
Okay.
Who's the best player in a Pistons and Knicks series? Jalen Brunson, number one.
Cat. No.
Okay, Cat. Number two, Cat. So the Knicks have the two best players in the series already.
No.
Or vice versa. Who cares?
Cade Cunningham is better than Jalen Brunson in a playoff series.
I completely disagree. What are you talking about?
When has Jalen Brunson been good against a real team? Like your team, like
he was very good in the playoffs for the last 2 years. Going back 3 years, he's been very good in the playoffs.
Mickey Mouse playing fake teams. We'll see. My guy Cade Cunningham, who I have defended to the hilt against all of these foul podcasters who slandered, threw him aside. I can't believe we're doing this with Cade Cunningham, who has an unreal burden, is not doesn't have the easy context that Jalen Brunson does. Pampered Jalen Brunson. They just go out and get his college teammates for him, and then send the college teammates that he doesn't like away. That would never happen for Cade Cunningham. When was the last time an Oklahoma State guy got recruited to Detroit? Didn't happen.
Okay. Yeah, I'm taking Jalen Brunson over Cade Cunningham in a playoff series this year. This year. Now, 2 years from now, Cade improves more. Brunson ages a little bit. So anyway, let's continue the exercise. Let's say Cade is the third best player in that. Let's say he's the second best player. I'll give it to you. He's the second best player. Let's say Brunson's third. Who's fourth? If you're ranking like the 5 of the best 6 best players in that series are on the Knicks. The second best player on the Pistons would be the 7th best player in that series.
So what I'm hearing out of you right now is that you don't believe Malik Beasley is the reincarnation of Ray Allen.
I'm a little skeptical.
Malik Beasley, I'll just point out, Malik Beasley has objectively had a better season than Mikal Bridges. I'm sorry, that is a fact.
That is hard to argue.
That is a fact. Yeah. That is a fact that is true.
Fact
now,
nature,
does your point stand that, like, for example, I would have to get down to, like, if we do this like 11. Here's the other thing about the Knicks, though. The Knicks have 5 players. They have or 6, I guess. Deuce McBride.
That's a point in your favor, is that if one player on the Knicks gets hurt, they might be fucked.
Yes.
When we did the overreactions podcast earlier this year, our thing that we said was I was like, they're sneakily kind of like one of the thinnest teams in the league, and Tibbs loves to run guys into the ground. So how does this work for them over the course of a full season? And you're seeing some of that come true, where if they miss one guy, they don't look nearly as good. Even when they're at full strength, they have, once again, they're still good against the middle of the pack teams. But yeah, no, I definitely think that injuries and availability will play a huge part for the Knicks in the playoffs. I still think they're going to win a playoff series against a team like the Pistons this year, though.
Probably, but I don't think people are ready. Maybe some of the narratives are starting to change a little bit. I think people are starting to realize that the Knicks are a little bit of a paper tiger, and I'm starting to see Knicks podcasts being well, this was always going to be a multi-year, rebuild, ignoring the fact that you traded all of your first round picks. So what's the plan? You're capped out, and they're not.
Adam Silver when Adam Silver bails out Wall Street, just like his hero Barack Obama did back in 2008.
Adam, you gotta put that Greek guy in there. I'm sending you a Larry Summers. He's gonna show you how to do this. Let's go. It's gonna be amazing.
The Greek in New York.
The Greek.
Remember when Trump called him the Greek?
The Greek.
We love him. The Greek.
The Greek. We love the Greek, don't we, folks?
Oh yeah, the big market bailout is coming for the New York Knicks. Hold on, I'm looking.
If you look at the H-1 visas, Giannis actually is one of the better examples of this, of skilled immigrant labor that we are doing. Yay! I'm doing the X the everything site.
Sam just put on some sunglasses and took a bunch of Percocet before he did that impersonation.
Fuck them kids. Michael Jordan and Elon.
Okay, so
shout out to Dan. If you like your college roster, you can keep it. Really, really good comment.
All right, so let's talk. There are a few other teams I wanted to talk about post-trade deadline that have made some moves that I want to know if you have a changed opinion on them at all. Because we ranked them after the trade deadline. We talked about them a little bit, but they've gotten to play some games. The Warriors. How do you feel?
I'm not as high as Bill. Bill was kind of filleting them pretty hard on the Drusilla Bill pod. I'm not there. I do generally agree with Bill's general point, though, that they and the Lakers are kind of wild cards now.
Yeah.
I think those teams could beat the Grizzlies. I think it's not likely. I think those are the first teams that have a puncher's chance against Oklahoma City, in my opinion. That's the first level where it's they're not immediately dead. Now, that said, I'm a little skeptical of what I would call the Jimmy Butler dead cat balance. Let's see what happens like once he's been on the team for a little bit. Because right now everything's good, everything's going awesome. Let's see this team run into some adversity and like when Jimmy and Draymond have to. Like,
so what you're saying is that the Maggie Simpson wheel was an effective strategy. Letting Jimmy cook and thinking that he's the guy, and Steph being fresher and running off the ball and doing all the Steph things that work well.
Yeah.
I saw one game of it and I said, yeah, this is going to work.
Yeah.
I was like, instantly, this is now I think a lot of people are going to do this with the Lakers, and I understand why, because I think the Lakers, like you said, wild card, they've also just been better this year. Like JJ's very clearly a great coach. That's probably, I wouldn't even say it's like, I didn't think he was going to be a bad coach. I just didn't think he would be such an improvement over Darvin Ham that it would be like a meaningful improvement, and he very clearly is.
The defense thing is kind of crazy.
Yeah, so they traded Anthony Davis and then they got better on defense because their transition defense is like elite without him.
Like, I don't know what to make. Like, is that like my gut tells me that's fake, but like it's also been like a full season of them just being an elite defense, like kind of no matter what the personnel is, which it's a little Brad Stevensy. I'm not going to lie. Like,
that's a good comp.
Yeah. It's, I hate to. If the fucking Lakers got away with it again, man, like hiring a fucking podcaster and he's good at coaching, like fuck, God.
New Pat Riley just dropped.
Yeah, seriously.
JJ Film Room owning everyone.
God damn it.
So someone just commented. You said it too. The Lakers.
Sorry.
The Lakers fans cooked us again. I'm sorry. Being a Lakers fan is literally just being like a Republican at this point, where it's just like, yeah, of course everything worked out for you. We live in America, dude. You're the Lakers. like shit just works out.
I wanted poor people to be punished, and then it happened. Looks like I was right again.
It's literally, it's the Trumpers in 2021 who were like, don't worry, we're going to get back into the office. And everyone was like, you're insane. What are you talking? And then 3 years later, what the fuck happened? Like in 2022, the Lakers fans, they had Russell Westbrook on their team. And they were like, all we have to do is figure out a way to trade for Luka Doncic. And it worked!
The Russell Westbrook trade was like literally January 6th, where it should have ended anything for like years to come. And like it all went, and they just kind of like moved on and kept going. And then,
do you remember when Lakers fans had their own version of January 6th, where they showed up to the Staples Center and they were protesting?
Yes.
And that one guy looked at the camera and said, "I would literally just get rid of all the bad players and get the good ones." He called that in 2022.
He was cooking. Like
he absolutely cooked.
He cooked. Like, yeah, they should trade for Luka Doncic, and then they just
did it.
God, the Lakers, it's so fucking annoying.
It's so good, dude.
Like,
it's actually, I actually do think that we kind of need things like this because it makes this funnier. Like it just, like if we didn't have things like this happen, the NBA would not be the NBA. Like it wouldn't be quite as entertaining if they fucking tripped over their dick and fell into another generational player.
Living in like some sort of like Lathe of Heaven style thing where there's like one child in Silver Lake who just goes to sleep thinking about, it'd be funny if Luka Doncic was on the team, and it just happens over and over again.
It happened again. So
LeBron is just gonna sign with us.
So Q said this to me recently where he was talking about, so Q also is anti-Thunder. He's a Warriors fan, and he likes the Nuggets too because he loves like really good players. So like he loves Steph, he loves Jokic. And he's talked about how he's like, the reason why he doesn't like the Celtics and Thunder, he's like, there's nothing against SGA or Tatum. He's just like, the style of player that I like these all-time offensive engines, like those guys are the ones that I want to see succeed and win at the highest level. And we're now entering the GM era where like Brad Stevens gets a ton of credit. I mean, we just did the comp with the Eagles. Like Howie Roseman is praised like a fucking god here.
Yeah.
Sam Presti in the Western Conference with the Thunder, and he's sick of that. And I love that is the case for every team. And then the Lakers just exist. Every team, like the reason why the Celtics fans and the Thunder fans and all these teams can be mad at the Lakers is because they all had to basically be perfect for their rebuilds. Like almost like have to like put it is kind of the fallacy of the American dream, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like you can work really hard, you can do everything correct, and then you could still stumble into Luka Doncic if you're the GM of the Lakers and Rob Pelinka, who has really only made like one good move in like 4 years before that.
It's amazing. By the way, somebody asked in the comments, Sean asked if the Lakers are the Republicans, who are the Dems? That obviously the Suns. No question. Just
wait, the Suns are the Dems? Wow. Ishbia had Sam taken out. This is just unbelievable.
I don't know why that happened. Am I back now? Okay. No. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think they're. I think that they are. The Democrats are obviously.
Oh yeah.
You put the Democrats are obviously the Suns, where you put your thumb on the scale of something that worked. Just bring in your own guys. Throw out all of the young voters.
All the future. We're just burning it. We're burning the ice caps.
Yeah, burning all of that. You
draft
throw pick. KD is Joe Biden in the. You try to get rid of him to like hand the keys off.
Bradley Beal's Kamala Harris. He came from DC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, came from DC. Yeah, did all the stuff. And now you're just stuck in like a fucking holding pattern. Yeah, it just
Booker's Obama. He's left over from when everyone was happy and everything was going well, and he's the golden child who can't do anything wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Except now he's also kind of having to pay the price because Hooters is closing. So it's a lot of a lot of that. So yeah, the Dems are obviously the Suns.
Very obviously, yeah.
And just a multi-year rebuild with no hope.
Yeah.
and just getting destroyed by the Lakers over and over again.
And just like the Dems, they might not exist by 2031. Yeah. So but yeah, no, back to the Warriors. Yeah, I mean the Warriors just play a lot of really good players. I don't know, like those three are clearly smart enough between Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy to make that work. Pods has had like a resurgence ever since they got Jimmy.
I saw that. Let's
go. I still think,
I forgive you for saving Brandon podcast.
Yeah, thank you for doing the Lord's work. Jimmy just gets assigned to a different team to rehab a quirked up white boy.
Yeah.
When he got to
the white,
yeah, Pods is Polish. You've literally made this joke.
Well, like I don't know.
Sam's doing race science again, guys.
We're gonna do Brandon Podzemski race science here on the pod.
Yeah,
get the calipers out.
So he before he leaves Miami, he resurrects Tyler Hero's career. He makes the All-Star game this year. Years ago on the Sixers, he tried to do it with TJ McConnell, but Brett Brown wouldn't play him. TJ McConnell leaves and goes and resurrects his career with the Pacers right after that. And now Podziemski is there, a fellow hardworking American, just like Jimmy himself. Also is like completely, I don't know if you know this about Pods. So we love Pods, but Pods also low-key has like grind set brain. I didn't know if you know this.
I didn't know that.
He's kind of like, you know how like a few years ago, which by the way, in retrospect is actually hilarious, that there was a quote from Tyler Hero from like 4 years ago at this point, where he's like, when you talk about the best young players in the league, like Luka, Ja Morant, all those guys, I see myself in that conversation. And everyone clowned him, and he made the All-Star team this year, and Ja Morant didn't. And I was like, but that Pods is the same way. Pods thinks he's a future Hall of Famer. And in order to be Brandon Podziemski and be in the NBA and go from like not playing his first year in college to transferring to another school to then becoming like a legit starter in the NBA in a handful of years, I do think you kind of have to have a little bit of just like psycho delusions about your own abilities in order to get to the level where he is. And he's like, once again, we always loved his fit with the Warriors, but ever since they've gotten a legit second scorer, he's doing all the things that we thought that he could do, which is be a connective piece, and he's been great at it.
He's got to be the fourth or fifth best player. And they, like, as things were constructed, he just had too much responsibility. It's like the tier down version of the Maxey thing.
Yeah.
Where like Maxey can't be one, but like you slot Maxey in as like a secondary creator, third guy. He's awesome. Same thing with Podziemski. Can't be in the top half of your starting lineup, but if he's at the bottom half of your starting lineup, that's fucking awesome. Like He's going to be amazing.
Yeah. And that's exactly what's happened ever since Jimmy got there. He's like the fourth guy in a lot of these lineups where he's just doing all the, grind shit. He's getting boards, making connected passes. His 3 started falling again. He's gotten his confidence back. And he's not a lockdown defender, but he's like a solid defender. Like he's really smart off the ball. On the ball, he tries really hard. He doesn't have the physical tools to like lock guys down, but he's a capable defender. And then just the thing what's going to come down to the swing piece for the Warriors for me is this Quentin Post thing real? Because if Quentin Post can actually play in the playoffs, I'd be fucking shocked. But they need a 5 who can shoot so badly. If they want to play Draymond at the 4 and they want to start Jimmy with that lineup, they can't do it without a 5 who can shoot. And Post puts up a ton of threes and he makes a decent amount of threes for a 5. If he can stay on the court defensively, that's where it starts to get a little bit interesting with me. Because he's a rookie, but he's already 24, so it's not like he can't, like, I don't think he's like completely dead on arrival in big games, but I do worry that the defense is going to be what plays him off the court, and then you're gonna have to figure out a Draymond at the 5 lineup, even though I know Draymond doesn't want to do that, because you can't play a traditional center. Like Looney can't play at the 5 with those guys. They just don't have enough shooting. And then, as I've talked about before, like I know Moses Moody's kind of coming into his own a little bit. He's been playing well ever since they made the trade. I like Moses Moody as a 5th guy in those lineups. Can they figure out a way to survive, have enough defense and shooting around those core pieces in order to make a run? I still think they probably need one more transaction cycle to be taken seriously, but I wouldn't be floored if they won a playoff series. And then, like you said, punchers, I think they're in the puncher's chance category in the second round.
Yeah. I think they have a shot at like a lot of these other teams. I would not pick them in most series.
Yeah.
Because I don't. The thing that sucks with the Warriors, the downside on the Warriors is I'm not sure Steph has the nuclear gear anymore.
He does occasionally, but it's not quite as often as it used to be.
I don't know. They would need the Steph nuclear gear, and I think that's what the Lakers have with Luka. I think Luka is still going to have the Luka gear. If they could get that from Steph. If you could tell me that Steph is going to be like comparable to like 2022 Steph,
yeah,
I'd feel really good about them. I'm not sure that's there anymore.
Bitter, spiteful Jimmy is such a swing piece too, because Bill called that to a fucking T, where he was like, he's going to really give a shit when he gets to his new team. And of course he does, because now he's fucking pissed. He got paid. He's on a team that can legitimately win. They've won shit before. Like, I do think that like the Jimmy like playing it up and like really leaning into this is going to be like massively beneficial for a team that's going to the play, because as much as we joke about playoff Jimmy stuff, like he's set up in a perfect scenario to succeed with this team. Also, just a little side note before you talk, their schedule has been a joke ever since this trade has happened. I do just want to point that out. They haven't played like a single real team, so we still need to see them. They play the Hornets tonight. Like they somehow are just always playing the worst teams in the NBA. We still need to see it against real teams, but so far so good.
As you said that, Bert's goes, they got a tough game tonight. Shout out to our Hornets. Our Hornets fans.
Our solo Hornets fan.
Our solo Hornets fan. Big Face Coffee.
Yes.
Moving to the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Has Palantir bought them yet?
Mm-hmm.
And is Peter Thiel already showing Jimmy the ropes for how to convert your employees into blood bags?
My thought immediately when you said that was, is Jimmy already thinking about putting in the trade request once he sees how much he has to pay in taxes? As a Republican in a blue state.
I think he's connecting with the other Republicans and they're like figuring this out. He's being taught like how to like hide that stuff right now. Like Peter Thiel has taken him under his wing. They are they're having some O positive that has been taken from the bodies of some of the young Doge staffers that Elon froze and shipped out to them. And they are like learning. He's showing Jimmy some of the ropes for some of this stuff and how to kind of like, they're eating. It's like that scene in Hannibal when the top of the guy's head's cut off and he's eating the brains. They're doing that with Riley McMasters right now. And all the other like failed Teal. Jimmy is with Dasha and Anna right now.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So he's actually gonna be on the next Red Scare. So
that's why Sam Bankman-Fried got out, right?
Sam Bank-Run fraud. Yeah.
Sam Bankman-Fraud.
Yeah.
First day out freestyle from Sam Bankman-Fraud just came in.
Oh fuck!
Did you know that
Sean McElwee go to jail?
So
he didn't, right?
So was that a bit last night that someone just said that he was got out of jail? I could have sworn that I probably got. I probably got. I thought that someone said that he got a pardon from Trump, which actually would be
amazing. There's
so on the nose.
There's a 0% chance because he's an effective altruist guy who gave tons of money to the Democrats. There's no way.
Oh right, he was a big Biden supporter. I forgot about that.
Yeah, no, there's no chance. He's like public enemy number one. Like effective altruism guy. But, I was gonna say Sean McElwee, watch out. The DOJ, Kash Patel is gonna roll up on you.
Okay, so last thing. Let's talk about the Lakers a little bit because we haven't really seen the Bucks since they got Kuzma. Like I know that they've won some games recently since they got Kuzma and stuff, but they also haven't really played anyone, and Giannis is just getting healthy now. Yeah. So there's really not much to say. Lakers and the Mavericks play tonight. What are the odds that Nico Harrison kills himself tonight?
Possible. On the table. More likely he gets hired tonight.
Hired?
Hired by the Lakers. He goes into the building and just doesn't come out.
By the way, did you see that Rob Pelinka was at the Warriors Mavericks game the other day because he was Andre Iguodala's first agent and they retired his jersey. So he was in the building the night that the Warriors destroyed the Mavericks without Anthony Davis. And I was like, come on, you're telling me this isn't a fucking plant? I was
going to say, this is a serial killer who can't help them go back to the scene of the crime, dude.
My third eye's open, dude.
Like, what is that? That's fucking Stanley Tucci and Lovely Bones, like, going by the family's fucking house. Like, it's, oh, God.
Yeah.
Sicko. I don't know. Like, so the Lakers, I can't make heads or tails of whether or not their defense is legit because I keep expecting it to fall off a cliff. Mm-hmm. And then when they got rid of Anthony Davis, I'm like, okay, well now it'll definitely fall off a cliff. And I'm still kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because if that's real, if they can have a top defense and just fucking have LeBron James and Luka on the court at any time, it doesn't make like a ton of sense to me why they're good, but like.
Well, Luka's only played in like 4 games, to be fair. And also, I do just want to point out, Ben Taylor had a video that a podcaster saw of Nikola Jokic. That was great. Everyone got mad at that title. I was like, no, that's a funny title for him. Obviously, JJ's more than a fucking podcaster. He's being tongue in cheek, and it was 1 game, but they were double and triple teaming Jokic off the ball. I was like,
wait. Did Cran just know something, but they ignored him 2 years ago, and JJ was the only one who listened to him?
Oh my God, Cranjus McBasketball tweeted, "There's one funny quirk about the Nuggets."
And he talked to the Lakers, and they know about it. Things are about to change.
He gave them info. Tim NBA, his famous tweet.
Cranjus, was Cranjus right?
Darvin Ham ignored Cranjus McBasketball.
Yeah, Darvin Ham ignored it.
Any normal person listening to this, they'll be like, "Do these people have schizophrenia? What is happening right now? What are these words?"
There was a famous, was that 2 seasons ago?
Yeah, it was 2 seasons ago in the playoffs against the first time they got swept by the Nuggets versus Lakers. He tweeted it and he said, "Haha, I found this one funny quirk with the Nuggets offense. We'll have like a film review on it soon." But basically, I think it was that like
no, but then he had a follow-up tweet, and I talked to the Lakers. They know about it. Like it's something like it was one of the funniest like all time. Like it's up there with like that's a mushroom cloud, that's atomic in terms of like funniest NBA Twitter tweets of all time.
Well, to be clear, I can understand why he had to specify that because remember the Lakers didn't have a scouting staff 2 years ago.
Forgot about that.
They were too broke to pay for a scouting staff.
I forgot about that.
They didn't watch. They weren't. And once again, that's why they hired JJ Redick because he watches all the film.
Oh my God, they needed a film guy. They weren't going to pay for a film guy. They needed a fucking film sicko. God damn it. This
And
is
they said if the coach can do it, why do we need a fucking scouting staff?
This is
literally he'll just do it all the time.
This is the end of usual suspects. You and I have just looked at the cup and it says Kobayashi Industries. Like this is
but this is also once again Lakers exceptionalism, American exceptionalism falling up shit. Because every other team, when they cut corners to like save money, like the Sixers or whoever, whatever team does it, it always fucks the team over, right? But the Lakers cost-cutting moves got them maybe the best coach in the NBA. And then also on top of that, immediately got them Luka Doncic.
I hate them so fucking much, man. God, it's so fucking annoying.
It's so funny. We went so long without really talking about the Lakers that much, and now they're like back in front and center.
I was like licking my chops because I'll have to just make do with the fact that the Miami Heat are dead and gone for 5 years. But like, I was so excited for like LeBron to retire and them to have like broken down Anthony Davis and just be in one of the most dire situations for like 7 years. And fucking, God damn it, dude. God damn it.
There was a tweet from a Luka fan 2 years ago when there's so many prophecies on the internet. It's unbelievable. A Luka fan tweeted, and this was around the time that the LeBron to the Mavs rumors came out, that Kyrie and Luka were trying to get him to come there, and that Mark Cuban was going to try to make a play for him, whatever.
Right.
And he literally tweeted and he said, LeBron's last ring will be Luka's first ring. When he wins the finals, he will take the crown off of his head and put it onto Luka's head, passing the torch to him for the next generation. And someone recently dug up that tweet. And of course it happens on the Lakers. If that happens this year, I'm going insane, dude.
If the Lakers beat the Celtics in the finals to tie the title record again.
Oh my God.
That would
ratings gold.
Oh my God, dude. I would Luka versus Tatum, like LeBron one last time to stick it to the Celtics, dude. That is my fucking nightmare.
So that's actually, someone asked me what would be my favorite outcome from the season. And I said that would be because the Sixers are done. So I would love to see LeBron get one more title. I would love to see all of the Luka shit that everyone said last year about him in the finals going out the window. But Dave McMenamin, not Tim McMahon, Dave McMenamin. Yeah. Dave McMenamin is already posting propaganda articles about how Luka's been motivated by the Mavericks fat shaming and that he's been living in the gym.
If that finals happens, I don't know if I can stream for that finals because I think I would. That is like I don't know why I hadn't really considered that before. I'm like reckoning with that right now.
It's like
that's like nightmare fuel. That's like I'm starting to worry that I conjured something dark into the universe by just talking about this. That like
you're like the character at the end of a Saw movie who's putting all the pieces together for the final twist.
I feel like where I've summoned the demon out of the fucking pits of hell. Like, God fucking damn it, this is gonna happen, isn't it?
I've thought a lot about it ever since the Luka trade happened, and honestly, the fact that he looked bad for the first 2 or 3 games, that I was like, maybe it's just not their year, and then he destroyed the Nuggets the other night, and now they play the Mavericks tonight, and I'm like, oh man. Well, your worst nightmare would probably be the Thunder. Let's be honest.
No,
you would be wrong. That's like the worst thing for you.
No, I'd be like fine.
You could recover.
I could recover.
Yeah.
The Lakers thing would be so much like worse, just because like they're just like. I also just don't think the Thunder could beat the Celtics, but. The thing that beats the Celtics are satanic arrangements. Because the Celtics have their own. Well, like, for example, I would be more scared of Jimmy on the Warriors with like Steph Curry. Yeah. That is another satanic arrangement that I think is like would also be evil. That is like designed to make me want to.
Would be great for ratings to have Warriors Celtics, or even a Warriors
Jimmy again. Oh god.
Warriors Cavs, Lakers Celtics. Like there's a lot of matchups that are beneficial towards the ratings argument.
None of them have the Thunder. Adam Silver will deploy his guys.
I mean, I think that is probably more the fact that the league just has not been able to market Shea, and they're not a legacy franchise.
Let's go. Shea has aura. Knocked out by Shea's aura.
Well, if you want to listen to the aura draft that we did on the Patreon last week, it's getting rave reviews, by the way. Like everyone is saying Kylie needs to be a third mic permanently.
Yeah.
So
bring Kylie back.
So 100% approval rating
yeah.
On that one. Although people have said that your picks were like the worst thing they've ever heard.
Amazing.
But that's why we love it.
Everybody loves it. Make Sam quit. They're get rid of. We're doing reverse DEI. I'm gonna file a petition against Donald Trump. They fired a white man. Brought in a woman.
An Asian woman.
No, stop, Mr. Trump, help me. My job. Oh God, I can't. If the Lakers were to win, I think that is like the worst case scenario. There's so many layers.
I can't believe that I've let you imagine you're once again wishing your own thing.
I don't wish it.
Hold on. You want to be oppressed as a Celtics fan. I've talked about this. Eagles fans want it too. Eagles fans want to be the little woe is me. You want to be oppressed, and now we're letting you just have your things that will never happen. The Celtics are probably going to win the finals again, and then you could come on here and you could say, yeah, but next year. No one's three-peated since the Lakers.
Earlier in the podcast, I said I think the Celtics are winning the title.
Yeah,
I'm so not scared of I'm so sure that the Thunder are going to like make the finals, like dropping the kayfabe. I am genuinely nervous if it is some sort of demonic arrangement because I don't know. I think it's. I don't know. I don't like this. I'm alarmed. I'm realizing this. We're in the evil timeline. This is going to happen to me.
I'm really excited for the second round of the playoffs now because we either get one of two outcomes. We either get the outcome where the Thunder make the conference finals and you have to eat crow on that, or we get the other outcome, which is that one of the demonic Lakers, Warriors, one of these teams knocks off the Thunder, and then the seeds of doubt get planted in your mind.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's like a very reaping sowing thing for me.
Yes.
Like, yeah, if it's the Lakers, it's like Lakers. I will say that I have reserved a tuxedo for if the Thunder lose. I have a tuxedo on hold.
You are so perverted, dude. This is unbelievable, man.
So tune in after that series. I'll be there.
I will be there no matter what.
I don't know how to tie a bow tie, so I'm gonna have to figure that out at some point. But cummerbund, I got the works.
Amazing. You're literally. I can't even. That's just the perfect place to fucking end it. Oh my God. All right. Well, if you guys are in here and you want to watch Lakers Mavericks with me later tonight, Sam will be asleep because it's going to be past 10 o'clock. But I will be watching Luka's Revenge. Also, we'll be back for the Patreon episode later in this week. Thank you for joining. And man, I can't wait for the playoffs. I'm so pumped. Go. Mickey Mouse March straight into the playoffs. We got a month ahead of us, folks.
Let's go. Lock in.
All right. Peace.